right, joined with me today is Dassir, and the headline right now is that there is a new blog post, and quite simply, they are moving forward with Overpowered. In fact, they are expanding it to lower levels of the game in attempt to be more transparent. See what I did there? We got Ryan Jacobson trying to be more transparent. Maybe he's trying to be Invisible Woman, and we're going to talk about this post, and I know this is going to sound weird, but you understand what I'm going to try to say about this. Like, we pre-tested Battleworld and gave them insanely horrible feedback, and then they modified it, some of it, right? And then it still came out a disaster, but in some ways, it could have been a lot worse. And the same is true with this post here. Does that make sense? Like, we're trying, but you know, like everything's a compromise, I think, in a lot of ways. But this post was worded so drastically differently, and no context, and straight gaslighting, in my opinion. And that's still going on to a certain extent. And largely, you know, that was the whole reason why this video was made a couple days ago. They aren't listening because I was like, oh my God, I don't know if people understand what's going on. So there's some things in this post that are bad. There's some things in this post that are not said. Also, I don't think that this post is going to change anybody's opinion. Like, if you hate Overpowered, you're still going to hate Overpowered. And if you like Overpowered, you're still going to like Overpowered. There is one small thing in here that I found to be interesting, and you know where I'm going with this, right? But it was, there's like one meaningful thing that gives context to what they're trying to do, kind of. It's like half of the problem, right? They don't address the money problem, but they address the power creep problem. So let's read this first, and then I'll get your take on it. Overpowered insights and updates. Commanders, first, we want to thank all of you for the feedback. See, that's the part that was driving everybody crazy. You have shared with us about Overpower. Your experience in Marvel Strike Force is important to us, and today we'd like to update you in our plans. And I want to assure you that they had that worded so much worse, and that is still probably should not be there. But anyways, as we shared in our original Overpowered blog, our goal is to ensure your hard-earned progression is useful and provides an effective boost in combat. And I feel like this is the big disconnect, is a lot of people don't feel like that is actually happening. They feel like the opposite. Marvel Strike Force is a game of character collection and progression, resource management, and squad-based combat. Many of the rewards you earn through gameplay are for upgrading your levels, gear, ISO 8, and that needs to feel satisfying and make your character stronger. As Marvel Strike Force has grown over the years, new progression has become less effective in helping you win combats. We feel there were two key reasons behind this. As the stats got bigger, each new level made less of a difference to the combat formulas. Character design has evolved over the years, and increasingly powerful character abilities have made stat progression less meaningful. So what they did not stay there is they don't like 5 million punch-ups. I mean, that's what they're saying, right? They don't want massive punch-ups happening anymore. And the way for them to combat that in the past was to do massive power creep. And they would prefer, I don't know. I mean, they just don't like punch-ups. I wish they would just say, we don't like punch-ups. They could have said that, right? So this is the interesting paragraph, and we're going to circle back to this. One approach to solving this could have been adding increasingly large numbers to new character levels, gear tiers, and ISO 8 upgrades. This has some downsides. It would devalue progression for newer players and inflate character power numbers to unreasonable levels. It also wouldn't scale well over time, with the numbers needing to grow exponentially over the next few years to be impactful. And I have like 9 million thoughts about this, and I'm sure you do. I kind of want to get through the post, and we'll come back to this, because I think this is probably, for me, was the most important part of the post, other than they're not budging at Overpowered and they're moving forward. Instead, Overpowered was created to address this in a way that scales well by keeping your underlying stats at reasonable levels and adding a bonus if you're fighting an enemy weaker than you. This ensures progression remains valuable as we continue to develop Marvel Strike Force. We've had an opportunity to gather data from hundreds of thousands of your battles and review the impact on Overpower on the game. Gameplay data like this is crucial for understanding how our diverse community of players interacts with character progression and in a combat in a way that no amount of internal testing can accomplish. So this is trust me, bro, right? kind of trust me, bro, right? After reviewing the data, here's what we're seeing. While overpowered is impactful, it is not overcoming skillful play and good squad selection in most cases. Well, I like put that word most in there. Players are choosing their battles more strategically and relying on proven counters, which allows them to find success in combat through smart decisions, even when taking on higher powered opponents. I think this is just a reversion to a speed meta is all it is. Overpowered makes the most difference in matchups where one squad has significantly more progression than the other. This is an expected outcome, as a big gap in progression should make a difference in a battle. Okay. Based on these findings, we do not plan to change the combat bonuses provided by Overpowered, as they support healthy progression and balance. They're not backing off of Overpowered, which they're just not. I don't see that as being that's not the direction they're going in. That said, after thoroughly analyzing player data, it became evident that many mid-game and casual players would benefit from earlier access to the Overpowered system. And for me, this part of the post is they're expanding Overpowered to lower levels, and this is not going to affect veteran players at all. But it does show why they're doing it, or why they think it's a good idea to do it, and also that they're not backing off of this idea. Our goals with the updates are making it easier for players to get into the early and mid levels of Overpowered, reasonable requirements attained to each level so progress feels possible and within reach, provide a valuable combat boost to players chasing and earning maximum progression to their character levels, gear, and ISO 8. So before, Overpowered started at level 90, now it's starting at level 50, and pretty much remains the same. I mean, in fact, for me, we were both on the character shard. We've both been playing the game since soft launch. We're on the second oldest shard, so we've both been playing this game well over 7 years, probably 7.5 years at this point. So this is not going to affect veteran players. This is for newer mid-game players, right? As we move into this next age of Marvel Strike Force, we want you to feel rewarded for your time and effort spent in game with our newest event structure, seasons, the Intel store, and many other changes coming to the game soon. Engaged players will have the ability to level up their characters to benefit more from Overpowered. And I feel like all this stuff has been overshadowed. Holy moly. The progression you earn will matter more than ever, and Overpower will be a valuable tool at your disposal. We generally appreciate the community's passion. Okay. It plays a vital role in shaping Marvel Strike Force. We are excited for you to experience what's in store for you in this upcoming age. So what was your main takeaway on this post? What do you get out of it?
The main thing is where Overpower is starting at. Having that start at level 50. I know you did a new account last year. I think you can get to level 50 in what, like 2-3 days, if you're like really pushing and trying.
2 days.
Day 2. So you're gonna walk into Overpowered in day 2 and start getting wrecked. My main concern is having it where the level 75 is at like Overpowered 4. I think that should have been like the starting point, because level 75 is such a huge jump anyways, because of the stat increase from 74 to 75 was pretty massive, and the new gear tier right there as well. So that's where I think it should have started. But people's not going to have the resources at mid and early games to like invest in a wide roster, so they're going to be getting wrecked.
Yeah, so people that are getting to end game, you know, like you've heard these stories of people getting Odin like 9 months to a year, right? I mean, sure, you've heard of it, right? But that required laser focus, being in a good alliance, and it's a very narrow path to get that, right? It's not a wide roster, right? They're going to get crushed everywhere else because you got to go wide. I mean, I feel like that is the biggest disadvantage to the Overpowered system, is that it massively punishes narrow, smart rosters, and it favors larger, older veteran rosters. What's your take on their explanation on why they're doing this when it comes to the context of power creeps? Is right here, this sentence right here. One approach to solving this could have been adding increasingly large numbers to character levels. And then they say, wouldn't they keep doing that, it wouldn't scale well over time, with numbers needing to grow exponentially over the next few years to be impactful. What's your take on that?
I mean, we already have like Yu-Gi-Oh numbers. I remember when like 1 million team power used to be like insane. So I think it's Professor X, when he gets his 3 diamonds, is at about 2 million power whenever that ends up happening in game, and making it to where they can just easily add on like a 4th or 5th diamond and actually monetizing it. Yeah, over 2 million power. It's insane. So we're at the Yu-Gi-Oh level numbers to where it is what it is at this point. So adding in overpowered on top of that puts his what's his damage go to with overpowered on there? An extra, so puts him at 2 million damage.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is what it is at this point, and people that kind of invested in some older characters, it wasn't going to happen to where they were going to like backtrack it. I was just hoping they would kind of tone it down a little bit, was my main hope.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that 100% of the Professor X's in game right now are at a gear tier 20, or 99% of them. I mean, why not, right? I mean, that's the logical choice. So I guess the way that I read this is that, let's say Purple 5 comes to the game, and in the past, like when they went to gear tier 20 or level 105 or whatever, right? They had to stack in between 20 and 30% stats, and they kind of had to do that with diamonds, right? And so maybe the way that I'm interpreting all of this is that, Purple 5 is going to the game, and maybe it won't have those kind of stat increases because they're trying to control power creep. But I did like what Bid Spartan said. So going forward, the main reason to upgrade gear, tier, ISO, and level is just so that you're not underpowered. Do you see that being a reason? I mean, that's the way it's going.
That's exactly what it is there's certain teams where you look at it, it's like, okay, Night Stalkers is a great example because Blade and Oath moves so fast that putting overpowered on them is such a big advantage, whereas if you put overpowered on somebody like Rocket Raccoon, who's so slow in Starjammers, isn't going to be doing as much. But Havoc moves very fast, so put it on him, you have a bigger advantage with the overpowered situation. So you really need to look at the speed and just run with it.
Yeah, okay, so I will say that this may be part of the reason, but I think this ignores the obvious reason, and that was to give spenders a massive advantage. And I feel like they want the people that go to the next level, whatever that is, gear tier 20 or Purple 5, to get a larger advantage quicker. And the rate that they do those things is going to be very important, right? I mean, because I guess I could make a case that the power increases are temporary because eventually we catch up to the heavy spenders, right? At some point, right? But if they push out Purple 5 tomorrow and then the 4th diamonds the next day, we never catch up, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, right?
Yeah, and considering the timeline between Dark Dimension 7 and 8 was about 6 months. So if they kind of keep running with that to where once a year we get the next level of ISO on there. So that's going to hit probably about August, September for, say, when the Purple 5 ends up hitting. Mm-hmm. That will give those Krakens about 3 to 4 months of a really good advantage to where they can really expand on the roster for those type of ISO or benefits for the overpowered. And then we'll end up catching up for the people that's like light spenders, moderate spenders, whatever you want to call us. Then we can kind of run with that. So it really varies as far as those spenders can get that nice advantage, and then we catch up to them.
Right. And for me, I mean, I feel like what Overpowered is doing, which is in direct contradiction to some of their stated goals that we know of, is one, they wanted players to catch up quicker and get faster to in-game. This severely negatively impacts newer narrow rosters versus veteran wide rosters. So it's kind of it's pushing that problem, right? It's making, it's harder for people to catch up, and you have to go much wider to be competitive. And two, they've stated to us many times that war was too complicated and they wanted to have a simplification. I mean, even that video that came out yesterday or the day before, which was shot at the summit like almost 6 weeks ago, where that's all they were talking about. War is too complicated. It's too punishing, and war captain. Overpowered has made war way more complicated, in my opinion, where you have to account for, and you brought up a good case, like a character like Noir. Noir
Yeah.
can wreck people now. If you, like, the faster the characters are, the more worried you have to be about it. Characters like in-game Thanos, which is gonna do damage to you no matter what, unless you're very smart, right? You know, and then you're just like, you're getting smashed by in-game Thanos with his passive, right? I mean, it's just like, I don't think it made war easier, and I think this is drastically negatively impacted newer players, whether they're spenders or not. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's not even about spending, it's about newer players severely got punished by this.
Yeah, and having it to where that overpowered's going to be working at level 50 now. If I was playing the game and then all of a sudden overpowered hits and it's like, what's going on? Why am I being wrecked right now when yesterday I was fine? It's going to be night and day for these people with that overpowered, where they're not going to know what to expect. Whereas we've been dealing with it as endgame players for so long that we know how detrimental it can end up being.
Yeah, I think this added to the complexity to war, like, drastically. Like, because the speed, it's all about speed now, right? Because, you know, I've been able to take out Liberty, you know, 11 Liberties in, because people take Liberty up to 11 to get Professor X, right?
Yep.
Yeah, S6 walks over it in Crucible because it's faster. You know, so it's like a speed meta. All this has done is made the meta more speed dependent. And then one last thing before we go. So Room 2 was bugged, right, in Crucible, essentially?
Yep.
So
it definitely was.
Yeah, so they're adding the text, and this is already in game right now. Added the text on spawn, Kahori's on spawn speed bar fill will trigger an additional time. And this is already in game. Like, if you go in right now to Room 2, you will see that. I was already putting Kahori in Room 2. What does this change anything for you?
I've been using her in offense, and if there's a Kahori on defense, I would just throw like Loki in there, and it really didn't change anything. So you can kind of go either or.
I was running Loki on defense with Kahori, and then I think Starjammers was the logical solution to the problem. But anyways, yeah, so that's just a side note. So in recap, they are not backing off of Overpowered, and they're saying they're listening, but I think this is just a formality to say this. I really suspect that they knew this wasn't going to be well received, and they're pushing through no matter what. I can't imagine this is good for their numbers. I can't imagine it is.
I could see a lot of people leaving very early on, or mid-game players, once this gets kind of implemented, because they're not. If you're already playing right now, then this goes live, and you're at like that level 75 range, then this goes live. It's going to be night and day for those type of players, because they're not going to be as active on Twitch, YouTube, checking the blogs and everything like that. So they're going to be walking into like a buzzsaw, is my main concern.
Yeah. Other thing too that I don't think a lot of people want to hear. I've noticed that I've been seeing a lot more support of Overpowered, where before, I think, like, when it first came out, all I saw was negative comments. I'm starting to see more and more people speak up and say that they like it, which is interesting. I'm just, it's just an observation, but I've been noticing that. I don't know if you've been noticing that.
I've noticed that a little bit. I think it's more because people just kind of like accepted it, so they're starting to level up. Some of those characters, like the Superior 6 teams for Crucible, and just kind of like running with it. So now it's, well, I already got my investment in here. I don't want to lose my investment, which, I mean, that honestly, that's how Krakens and like very high spenders are. It's like, well, I got this investment, I'm going to run with it. So now we're starting to get on the same boat as far as that goes.
Yeah, I feel like I've I don't know about you. I think we have similar spending patterns, and I mean, I'm not. I rarely spend more than $200 a month on the game, which is a lot of money. Before anybody gets like, oh, you know, but it's not $1,000 a week. It's not $2,000 a week. You know what I mean? You know, I'm spending, you know, $50 a week or $70 a week on this game. I'm finding that I'm stabilizing in Crucible, but not yet in War. Are you having a similar experience? Like, are you stabilizing in Crucible?
I am. So I went 1-2 this last week. My first opponent was my first Professor Xavier, and they were flooded with G20. I dropped the first matchup. It's like, well, I definitely lose this one. The second one, my opponent didn't attack, which is really weird for where we're at in Crucible.
Yeah, I had
And
that.
then
I had that happen also, which is like we're having people just quit the game because of overpowered, probably, right?
that's my thinking. They probably just got tired of it, so they're just trying to take a break, which I totally get. I'm almost there myself, where it's like, I'm just going to take a break in Crucible for a week or two. I'll probably do that when U32 comes back, because it most likely will between seasons. They've been doing that. But my round 3 opponent, I just kind of got cute with some of the counters that I lost by efficiency. So
yeah, I feel like I can't speak. Alliance War, it's a pain in the ass for me still. I'm just straight up, I hate it in Alliance War because I hate it. I hated Alliance War because for me to keep using the teams I was using, I have to upgrade teams I don't want to. And it's specifically against like Spider Society, which you bring up because everybody has Spider Society at 105, right? So it's like, wow, the counter for that was not strong, and that counter is never going to be good. Like in a month from now, I don't want to put resources into it today. It feels bad, right? And the example for me is She-Hulk. I don't want to upgrade She-Hulk, right? I just don't, and I am. I can stick to my guns, I suppose, and just not do it. I think that's probably the best idea, right? It's just to not worry about it, let it go. But in Crucible and in Arena, I feel like I'm being impacted more by Professor X than overpowered, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like it's a Professor X problem I'm seeing more. Like, and I think I'm already conditioned for that with Odin and Mephisto, where, it's trying to ice skate uphill if I'm going up against a Professor X player, right? It's just I did win one of them, but it's not a certainty. It's definitely like if they have any kind of skills, they're gonna win easily. All things being equal, they win every time. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I don't know. I just feel like it's a weird problem that they created, and I don't know if this context helps much or not, and I'm sure that this video or this post didn't change many people's opinion on overpowered anyway. So anything you want to say before we go?
I mean, at least they came out with this information. They were pretty straightforward on this blog, saying why they're moving forward with it as far as the investments and everything. So we got more communication on this one than we did on the previous ones, and it was so much worse as far as the communication and what they were going to do with this. So it could have been worse. That's the main takeaway.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for today. Bye for now.